Hey everybody! Koricon here, and this is my review of American Assassins, directed by Michael Custa, and is starring Dylan O'Brien, Michael Keaton, and Tyler Kitsch as our villain. But there were also two other actors that were in here I wanted to mention because I love these guys. David Suchet, which I always get his last name wrong, even though I've liked him for decades. But I loved him as Hercule Poirot, the Agatha Christie. He did the TV show for PBS. I loved that show growing up, and he was awesome in it. But it's weird seeing him without an accent. Like, he's got an American accent in this movie because he plays the director, but it's weird. Like, it made me want to go watch the old episodes of Hercule Poirot again because I loved that show. And then also Scott Adkins, who had a lot more in this movie than I expected. I love Scott Adkins. I think he's a very underappreciated martial artist, stuntman, and he pops up in a lot of movies. People don't really recognize him or know who he is very well unless you follow some of his direct-to-DVD movies. Like recently he came out with Undisputed 4, Boyka, which I love the Undisputed sequels that he did much better than I did the first movie that he wasn't in. But I love Scott Adkins. It was great to see him in the movie, so that made me excited personally. Some people might recognize him from Doctor Strange. He played one of the henchmen in that movie. He's the guy that he fought in the hospital when they were in the kind of spirit realm. But yeah, I love those two guys. It was really good to see him in this movie. However, I don't think this movie is great. I think it's okay. The story kind of goes a little bit all over the place, and it changes a lot. So let's get into this a bit. There's no spoilers, though. The first half of the movie has a good flow, good story. You're invested in Dylan O'Brien's character, and he did a great job. I'm kind of excited to see what else he does as an actor going forward. Some people might know him from the Maze Runner movies, which I thought were pretty good. I liked those, but he does a great job in this movie, much better than he did in the Maze Runners, and I think he's going to go far. I think he's going to go far. But his character kind of becomes like a Punisher type character. His, in the trailer you saw that his fiance had died in the beginning. That kind of turns him into a revenge vigilante kind of personality. So it's very much of the Punisher in the beginning there. But then he becomes wrapped up with the CIA. They kind of draft him, and he's being trained by Michael Keaton. Now that whole part, that works. And the training with Michael Keaton, it's the second half where it falters. Now, Taylor Kitsch does a great job as the villain, and he does a great job with what they give him in the script. However, his villain came out of nowhere. Like, you had the setup with Dylan O'Brien's character, you have him interacting with Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton is great. He's awesome. But then all of a sudden, there's a villain. Like, there's no setup for the villain. It's just, here he is. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're going this way now. And then it exponentially just got bigger from there. It went from a cool, smaller, tight, personal storyline to blown up into this world-ending epic thing going on with nuke weapons and all this other stuff. And I was like, it distracted so much from the movie. If they had concentrated more on the personal stories for the first half of the movie and saved that second half for maybe a sequel, but took out the nuclear weapon, we don't need everything to be world ending. But yeah, I thought it was too much crammed into one movie. And the fight scenes. So everybody's kind of heard me say that have seen me before. The three things that will kill any action sequence is the SCQ. shaky cam, close-ups, and quick cuts. Now, this movie isn't as bad as Assassin's Creed, which was horrible when it comes to action scenes, but it was kind of on par with the Paul Greengrass Bourne movies, where you couldn't really tell too much of what was going on. There were a lot of shaky cam, a lot of close-ups, and a lot of quick cuts. Now, about half of the action sequence was filmed good, okay. At least it wasn't shaking enough to where you could tell what was going on. But it feels like we got half an action sequence. Like maybe they trained for it, but we didn't really get to see much of it because they were cutting it up and doing all these close-ups of a fist hitting an abdomen for no reason. Just pull the camera back and keep it stable, man. I mean, it's not that hard. The hard part is really spending the time with your actors to train them to be able to do the fight scene. If you're willing to put in that time, you're going to have a great action movie. But it seems like a lot of these movies try to rush production and skip that part, or they do it and then film it bad for some reason. I don't know why. The only reason to do shaky cam close-ups and quick cuts is because you are editing around a bad performance. And I didn't feel like there was a bad performance in there. So it feels like they filmed a good one and then just edit the crap out of it until it was not really that exciting anymore. So I was disappointed with the action sequences. However, some of the like gunplay, the shooting, the strategy, very military style of movement, and how they held their guns and held themselves, walked around, aiming, firing, all that stuff looked great. It's the physical combat that didn't do very well. That mixed with the fact that the storyline was all over the place, it kind of made for just an okay movie. Not something I would watch in the theater. I wouldn't suggest paying money to see it in the theater unless you're a huge action fan and you just want to see it anyway. But if you're on the fence between this and another movie, go ahead and see the other movie. But I would recommend getting it on Blu-ray or DVD or renting it somewhere, seeing it on Netflix. It would be a fun time to watch. The cinematography was good. The directing was okay except for the fight sequences and the fact that the story was too grand. Now, it is based on a novel. I have not read the novel, so if you read the novel and this movie reflects that storyline, I would say the novel is all over the place. It's just that story doesn't work. But maybe the novel is better. Maybe they do something better with it. I would like to see Tyler Kitsch some more as a villain. I thought he did a great job, just was in a bad section of the movie. And I loved seeing David Suchet and Scott Adkins again. So there were a lot of things in there that I enjoyed personally, but I'm going to end up giving this movie a grade of a B-. But what did you guys think? Did you see American Assassin? Did you like it? What did you like? What did you not? Let's comment below. Let's have a discussion. If you're on VidMe, upvote this. Give me a follow and share it around. And if you're on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends. And I will see you on the next video.